Cholesterol is a substance that has gained a lot of attention within the public with regards to health and well-being. So let's take some time to discuss cholesterol and its role in the body. Unlike fatty acids, such as triglycerides and glucose, cholesterol is not metabolized to produce ATP. So what does its use in the body? It plays a vital component in all cell membranes. So cholesterol plays a role in modulating the fluidity of the cell membrane. And this is a function which will vary based on temperature. Cholesterol influences the packing of phospholipids within the cell membrane and thereby reduces passive permeability of the membrane to substances such as water, ions, and other small polar molecules. Cholesterol organizes itself into rafts, and these help to organize receptors, ion channels, enzymes, and signaling proteins within the membrane. Cholesterol is also present in the membranes of intracellular organelles. In addition to its vital role in cell membranes, cholesterol also is important for many other substances within our body. It serves as a precursor for steroid hormones, hormones such as estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol, and aldosterone. Vitamin D, an important substance in our body with regards to calcium regulation, is formed on the backbone of cholesterol. Cholesterol also plays a role in bile acids and bile salts produced by the liver. And these, as we have learned, will aid in the digestion and absorption of lipids from the intestine. Finally, cholesterol plays an important role in the nervous system. It's necessary for proper neuronal function and myelin formation. Now, as important as cholesterol is, it shouldn't be surprising to know that all nucleated cells within the body can perform de novo synthesis of cholesterol. So for many cells, this local synthesis supplies the cholesterol needed for normal membrane function. In cases where cells need more cholesterol, they can utilize exogenous cholesterol that's delivered from circulating lipoproteins. We'll discuss lipoproteins in a few moments. Now, steroidogenic tissues, such as the testes, ovaries, and adrenal cortex, they have the ability to greatly increase their uptake of lipoprotein-derived cholesterol when the demand for steroid hormone synthesis increases. So we know that lipids are insoluble in plasma. Plasma is mainly composed of water. So in order to transport lipids, we must package them into particles called lipoproteins. The hydrophobic lipids, such as triglycerides and cholesterol, are carried in the center of these lipoprotein particles. A surface monolayer, primarily composed of phospholipids, isolate the lipids from the surrounding aqueous plasma. The addition of proteins called apolipoproteins further stabilize these particles and allow them to interact with enzymes and cell surface receptors. While there are many apolipoproteins that have been identified, we are going to focus on two of the major ones, those being apolipoprotein B and apolipoprotein A1. A lipid-carrying transporter with its associated apoprotein molecule, such as apoprotein B or apoprotein A1, all of these taken together is referred to as a lipoprotein. There are two major lineages of apolipoprotein molecules. These are going to be ApoB lipoproteins and ApoA lipoproteins. The lipoproteins are comprised of these various components. In regards to the ApoB lipoproteins, we have the largest of these, which are the chylomicron, very low density lipoprotein, or VLDL, intermediate density lipoprotein, IDL, and then finally LDL. With regards to the ApoA lipoprotein lineage, we have one molecule, and that will be our HDL. Now, the nomenclature that identifies these various molecules, the very low density, intermediate density, low density, and high density, this was all arrived at when these molecules were first being examined. Plasma was placed in an ultracentrifuge, and as the plasma was spun down, these molecules layered themselves based on their density. So that's where these names come from. So where do the lipoproteins come from? Digestion results in various lipids within the small intestine. Monoglycerides, free fatty acids, cholesterol, and then we have our bile salts and acids, as well as phospholipids. This figure represents the small intestine. So within the small intestine, we have all these various components. On the surface of the small intestine, we have a layer of water, and this is referred to as the unstirred water layer. So this unstirred water layer is going to limit the accessibility of these lipid substances to the surface of these enterocytes. These substances within the small intestine are going to organize particles called micelles. So micelles is a mixture of lipid products organized with a hydrophilic shell. This allows these lipid substances then to interact with the microvilli on the enterocytes. So here we show our micelles within this unstirred water layer, now adjacent to and bumping up against the microvilli of the enterocytes. On the apical membrane of these enterocytes are transporters called Niemann-Pick C1-like-1 receptors. These allow for the transport of cholesterol into the enterocytes. The cholesterol that's taken up by these Niemann-Pick C1-like-1 receptors is what we call free cholesterol. Within the enterocytes, we have an enzyme called cholesterol acetyltransferase, abbreviated ACAT. ACAT will esterify the free cholesterol, and now we have esterified cholesterol. Additional substances from the micelles, such as monoglycerides and free fatty acids, also enter into the enterocytes, and they are repackaged into triglycerides. Now, the triglycerides with this esterified cholesterol will all be packaged into our lipoprotein, the chylomicron. Now, these chylomicrons are quite large, so they are passed across the basolateral membrane by exocytosis, and because they're so large, they cannot fit into capillaries, so they will be moved across the basolateral membrane by exocytosis and enter into the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system then will carry these back, and via the thoracic duct will enter back into our venous circulation. There's another transporter located on these enterocytes, and this is called an ATP binding cassette transporter. These transporters are responsible for moving cholesterol out of cells. There are various types of these transporters, which have different numbers and names. We'll refer to them generically as ATP binding cassette transporters. And what this is going to do is this is going to be playing a role with the formation of our lipoproteins that have ApoA. So within the plasma, we have ApoA that's circulating. These ATP cassette transporters will take free cholesterol and will transport this out of the enterocyte into the plasma. In the plasma, this free cholesterol will then bind to ApoA1. These then will continue to collect cholesterol as well as some triglycerides and will eventually form an HDL particle. We also have some of these ATP binding cassette transporters on the apical surface. These are responsible for exporting cholesterol from the enterocytes back into the small intestine. So this may be the case if we have absorbed some phytosterols, which are plant-based sterols that we don't use, or if we have an excess of cholesterol already in our body, these ATP binding cassette transporters will also transport cholesterol out of the enterocytes so we are not absorbing it. So we have our chylomicron, which travels from the lymphatic system and enters into the blood. And as it's going through the blood, peripheral tissues have enzymes called lipoprotein lipase. Lipoprotein lipase hydrolyzes triglycerides from these lipoproteins that allows the movement of free fatty acids from the lipoproteins into the tissues. The tissues can then use those as an energy source or can be stored for later use. Here we show the chylomicron interacting with the lipoprotein lipase, delivering the triglycerides to these tissues. As it delivers those to the tissues, the chylomicron becomes smaller, and it's then referred to as a chylomicron remnant. The chylomicron remnant then goes to the liver, where it's taken up. It's then reprocessed, and now the liver is forming VLDL. The VLDL serves a similar function as to the chylomicron in that it is a lipoprotein that's going to be taking these triglycerides to the various tissues, again being acted upon by lipoprotein lipase. As it drops off its triglycerides, it then becomes smaller and becomes a LDL particle. LDL can then be returned to the liver. Now, I've eliminated or excluded including the intermediate density lipoprotein, which would be the transition between these two, because it really serves no purpose that's different from the VLDL. Now notice here I've also included a subtle difference between chylomicrons and VLDL. And if we look back at the previous slides, you'll notice that I did color the apolipoprotein a little differently between these two. The ApoB lipoprotein that is affixed to the chylomicrons is ApoB48. The ApoB particles that are involved with VLDL and LDL is ApoB100. So by testing what type of ApoB protein is present on a lipoprotein, we can tell if it's one that was created by the intestine, which would use the ApoB48, versus one that is produced by the liver, which would be the ApoB100. Now these LDL particles, because they've had most of their triglycerides taken away, are primarily cholesterol rich. One of the major functions of LDL is to deliver cholesterol to tissues as well as to return cholesterol to the liver. The way that tissues and the liver take up the LDL is through an LDL receptor. So this is called receptor-mediated endocytosis. These LDL receptors were identified by these two physicians, Drs. Brown and Goldstein, and they are at UT Southwestern Medical School. They received the Nobel Prize in Medicine for identifying this mechanism. The way this works is these receptors on the surface of the cell will bind to the LDL particles. Upon binding, this portion of the membrane then invaginates and is brought into the cell. Once in the cell, it then will be acted upon by enzymes and will be broken down, and then will release the LDL into the cell to be processed. Let's look at the HDL now. HDL is part of the ApoA1 lineage. And ApoA1 is primarily created in the liver and the small intestine. So cells that contain these ABC transporters, they will be transporting cholesterol out of the cell into the plasma. As they do so, this will then be picked up by the ApoA1. These will continue to accumulate cholesterol and phospholipids. These are initially referred to as nascent HDL particles. The cholesterol that is taken up by these HDL apolipoproteins, the free cholesterol is subsequently converted to esterified cholesterol, which allows denser packing of the cholesterol, and this is then what will lead to eventually our mature HDL particles. HDL takes cholesterol from the periphery and can return this to the liver. There are scavenger receptors on the liver which can take cholesterol from the HDL particles and remove cholesterol for processing. Additionally, HDL can transfer some of its cholesterol to LDL and VLDL particles. These particles, through different mechanisms, also can return cholesterol to the liver for processing. Once cholesterol reaches the liver, it may be converted to bile acids. Once in the liver, cholesterol may be converted either to bile acids or can be secreted into the intestine in the form of cholesterol. The bile acids in the small intestine help emulsify dietary lipids that facilitate lipid digestion and absorption. The cholesterol and bile acids continue to move through the small intestine, and in the terminal ileum, much of the bile acids are reabsorbed and return to the liver through the enterohepatic circulation to be utilized over and over again. There's also bacteria in the small intestine which will modify cholesterol into a non-absorbable form. Eventually, this cholesterol, which has been modified by the bacteria, as well as some cholesterol that continues unchanged, will be excreted. This entire process of HDL delivering cholesterol to the liver and then subsequently being excreted in the feces is referred to as reverse cholesterol transfer. When the pathway utilizes LDL or VLDL to deliver cholesterol to the liver, that process is called indirect reverse cholesterol transfer.